All right, so it's a good thing that Kyle and I banter a lot before we hit the record button because in the process of doing that, the Avs signed somebody, Brent Burns. So let's talk about that and a lot of other things going on in free agency still on a new episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli, with me as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. And if you want to get in on the conversation, then join our subtext. Link is in the show notes below. Chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. We get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, and share it on this very podcast. And yeah, that's no lie. Kyle and I usually spend about a half hour or so just shooting the whatever for not necessarily talking about hockey. Just what went on with your day, just kind of checking in with each other. And we were literally about to hit record. And I don't know why I switched over to Twitter. I was looking up something and bam, there it is. The Avs make a signing. And it's Brent Burns. Like we still don't know. I know you are going to be efforting to get the AAV. Like that's how recent this thing happened. That don't know the AAV just yet. So we're waiting on that. And we're gonna, there's more free agency talk that we're going to be doing today. And if we have time, we'll get back into those rankings that the Athletic was doing. They did team centers, team wings, and they also did team defense. So that will put at the end of this episode if possible.
Those numbers just shifted.
Yeah, well, I'll tell. People don't know where the Avalanche are in those rankings. You would assume they're pretty high.
Yeah.
So but that is a good point. So let's start there. I mean, you see the if you're watching on YouTube, you see the first bullet point there, which is the Avs seem to be biding their time here, and just kind of taking things very slow, not jumping at guys or, overreaching for guys. And I didn't change that bullet point because that's still true, even though they went out and got Brent Burns. The Oilers thing still is up in the air. You're hearing that he's whittled teams down. The Avalanche seem to be out of that, but he hasn't signed with anybody yet. So, hey, we'll till he does, it's still an option. We'll get to that in a second, but we got to talk about the Burns stuff right now. Anything yet in the AAV or not
Nope.
yet? Okay. What do you think? I mean, this is not a name that you were hearing could be in the market, or the Avalanche could be in the market for, but it does make sense that they would be because it's a big dude, and that's what the Avalanche did need more of on the defensive end. His age, he's 40 years old, but dude's an Iron Man. I mean, I don't know what the number is, but he has played a ton of games in a row. So he is reliable in that aspect, but welcome to the Colorado Avalanche. So we'll see how that goes for you this year. Thoughts, early thoughts. This is hot off the press thoughts. We haven't even really had time to digest this.
Yeah. I don't know if more time is going to help. And especially I keep looking for the AAV to kind of help me feel about this. Like initially,
it's not going to be.
Yeah. Yes, it's Brent Burns. That's cool. He doesn't have a cup. If he stays healthy, we'll get to have another Jerome Iginla celebration. He'll be playing 1,500 in the Avalanche sweater.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be nice. Yeah, I guess. I don't know really how I feel because can he hold up? He can. He could do it, but I'm very
conflicted on it. But why though? Like, I mean, he's not going to be asked to play anything other than a third pairing.
Well, I get that, but this also means if Burns is up, okay, we got Taze McCarr, Gerard Manson, Malinsky, Burns, Middleton's going down.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like I was in the camp of I like Keaton Middleton, and is Keaton Middleton not just a young version of Brent Burns, like a big dude? Brent Burns is better. I'm not saying Keaton Middleton's up there with Brent Burns. Brent Burns is this is 22nd year in the league. I'm not trying to compare that. I'm just saying what they would have wanted out of Keaton Middleton is what Brent Burns will give you. Brent Burns will give you more, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's the comparable of size. That's what they needed for that position. Burns gives you that.
And see, and like when you think about it, like great personality, just the look, he looks like just hockey dude 101, like great locker room guy, which I think is going to be a nice replacement. EJ is no longer here. You could transition to Brent Burns. It's a good, like he's a cool locker room guy. And when he's on the ice, he could still do his thing. Like there's a reason he's been playing almost 1,500 games. Like you don't do that and be average. What you will get, what version of Brent Burns you'll get is going to be the question. Can he stay healthy? Nobody on the Colorado Avalanche can stay healthy. We just got Gabe Landeskog back after 3 years. So we're asking somebody to, at 40 years old, to be healthy. That's going to be a lot. But again, it's on paper. It's pretty cool. I think that's going to be what I say about it. It's pretty cool. I'm not going to say put the Avalanche in the Stanley Cup, baby.
No.
But it's a cool move. Like as long as that AAV is respectable.
And you say, you know what version of Brent Burns? Like you know what version of Brent Burns you're getting. The dude's, 22nd year. He's not changing. And the thing, that you look at what he did last year. So he's got 4 straight years of 82 games in a row. That's just phenomenal. So he had 6 goals, 23 assists, 29 points, and averaged almost 21 minutes a night. So the fact that you are like, this is, how when Lindgren came over, you're like, we're not going to be asking him to play top pairing minutes. The same is true for Burns. And I like that part of it because he is 40 years old. And 22 seasons he's going into, and that is a lot of wear and tear. He's up for that challenge. He's up for that task. I mean, when you're, what are you, 6'5", pushing 230, your body is equipped to withstand a lot of stuff, but it also has gone through a lot of stuff. Yeah. So putting him in a third pairing role is exactly like you were not going to get him if you needed something more than that, because you are running a risk here. And even just dropping his minutes down to 13, 14 minutes a night, that's, a vacation for Brent Burns, and he can probably give you more for a full season. Hopefully.
And he does put 82 game seasons together a lot. He's withstood the test of time. This will be his 22nd season in the National Hockey League. Like, I think it's going to be a cool story and a good pickup. When it comes to like, does this improve the team? I think locker room wise, it does.
Sure. He's a great locker room guy.
I'm curious to see how that dynamic will be, and how he fits in with the team. It's very curious move, but again, you take your step back. As we were getting ready to record, we're talking about why are the Avalanche so quiet with all these other signings going on? Why aren't the Avalanche in that? It's very curious that this is what the Avs had circled.
You wonder, how quickly this came to fruition. Like what was he on their radar for a while? Because you could have signed him yesterday if you wanted to. I don't, I'm sure there were other teams interested, and maybe it was just him. Maybe it was just him, like really wanting to weigh whatever offers he had, and he decided on the Avalanche. I don't know, but I don't know. It's tough to say. Like, when was the interest there? Was the interest there during the planning of, like, where was he on their board of who we want to bring in defensively? And this Ehlers thing, you're wondering, like, we were saying yesterday, is that holding things up for what the Avalanche want to do? You saw some defenders come off the board. They obviously don't want to spend a ton of money. And, if he's going to be your third pairing guy, I can't imagine that he's going to be costing you a lot. I still don't think a number has come up for him yet.
And
it's taking so long, but.
And the quiet part out loud that I think a lot of Avs fans kind of need to settle with is, I don't feel like there's this huge rush and panic mode in the front office to work on that 3C position?
I don't think there's a lot of panic. Well, yeah, no, you're right. I was going to say, I don't think there's a lot of panic in general. And I wanted to talk about that. So why don't we get our first break in, and we'll kind of go down that rabbit hole of, this is the Avs' first big signing, and it's a third pairing defenseman who's
Literally
40 years old. Yeah. And is that by design? So let's kind of dive into that. We'll get our first break in. We'll talk about that coming up next. Let's hear from Monarch Money. If you ever wish managing your money felt easier, then with Monarch Money, it can. And whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, and you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you are also building wealth. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your entire first year. That is monarchmoney.com. The code again is LOCKEDONNHL, and you get half off of your entire first year. Go check them out today. All right, so as the Avs are slowly, methodically doing whatever their plan was for this offseason, and we're waiting on the Oilers thing, it did kind of get me like thinking, like when we were talking, we were all leading up to free agency day one, we kept saying how it doesn't excite you. Like, yes, there's some good names in here, but the drop off was pretty steep. So are the Avalanche going into this thinking like we have a couple guys that we would like to target, and if those are off the board now, we're not going to panic and rush? And I don't think this is a panic move at all by the Avs to go get Burns. But, you did hear that the Avs were in on Ehlers, so he's still making his decision. So are the Avs looking more into like the trade market than they are the free agent market? And here's the thing with Ehlers. Like if he decides to go somewhere else, that's fine. I think the Avalanche will kind of roll with what they have. I think he's a big name on the market. Let's see if we can lure him in here. And if it doesn't happen, what we have is perfectly fine. And for me, like I want to throw out a little bit of like, I don't want to say it's like an apology, but it's like, did I jump to, oh, that's the shiny new toy in Ehlers? Maybe. But it didn't mean I was just like kicking Martin Necas out the door. It was, oh, that would be a great signing. And if it doesn't happen, okay, fine. Like, because I've said many times this show, like, I like Martin Necas. I think he could have an excellent, excellent season here with the Avalanche. So I think the Avs are maybe looking at it that way. If he doesn't want to come here in Ehlers, fine. We'll just keep riding it with what we have, which we like. And then we'll go address those depth things that we need to address and fill out this roster. But the same thing holds true. Are you taking too long to make, that decision? And if you do, the already thin market is thinner because you've waited 2, 3, 4 days, however long this goes for.
No, Chris, I don't fault you for that, because I think, me included, I think we all became kind of going into this, like Avalanche fans, let's take a step back about a week or two. We were all holding on to that press conference. And Chris, we even talked about this on the show. Like, the Avs are going to probably be expectedly quiet, especially after everything we heard in that press conference. We like this team. We like this core. We're going to go run it back one more time. And you saw that commitment to it with the Brock Nelson deal. And I think we all kind of had our foundation shaken just a little bit with the Charlie Coyle move and the Miles Wood move. And it felt like, oh, they're going after somebody. I don't think that's what their MO is right now. I don't think it's going to get somebody, because even with this move for Brent Burns, he's currently the Iron Man in the NHL, 925 in a row. If you want to keep, Like if you want to keep this team going, what is a big problem for the Avalanche? Like I mentioned in the first segment, injuries. Brent Burns finds a way, even though he's like a wrecking ball and he does his thing and he's got 4 teeth, he finds a way to show up every single night. Lunch pail guy. Cool. You're strengthening the core night in, night out. That's reliability. That's somebody no matter what happens, whatever he does, he's going to be here night in, night out. And I feel like they didn't make that move to go get somebody. It's where they can make that move. I feel like it's more of a trade where they're not, oh, we can't make that trade. We can't make that move because we have such limited cap. I feel like the Avs got themselves a little bit of breathing room to address needs if they arise. And I feel like we need to go back a little bit and just go back to what they've been telling us this whole time. The team needs to get deeper. They addressed that. We like this core. The outcome wasn't what we expected, but we feel like it could be different. And I feel like that's what we need to be holding on to, not looking at the Charlie Coyle Miles Wood move as an indicator of big things coming to Colorado.
No, because you didn't. I mean, the trade with Coyle and Wood gave you some breathing room, but it wasn't like now you can just throw money around all over the place. But it's like, if you're happy with what your top 6 is, you had enough money to go address the depth stuff that you needed to address. So why didn't you? Like, why did you put your hat in the ring for Ehlers? And now, like, are you paying the price for that now? Are you paying the price for, because if you don't really do much here, like, I mean, in the end, they're probably going to be near the cap and you're going to fill out these roster spots. But are those the guys that were the tops on your board? And because you threw your hat in the ring for Ehlers and now you're all those guys that you initially were maybe targeting are now gone, and you're kind of getting the second, third wave of guys to fill out a roster. Does that make your team better? So why not just like be more active on the first couple days, be happy with what your top 6 is, fill in those bottom, because there's some good names that went off the board in day 2 that I thought could make for good Avs. And now you're even, we're getting lower and lower and lower. So that's why I'm thinking, is what the Avalanche are planning more in the trade market? Are they looking more in the trade market than the free agency market? So I'm not like panicking or anything like that, because I do trust what this Avalanche team can do, this front office can do in addressing the needs. And there's multiple ways to address needs, and it's in free agency. And we all want free agency to be where it gets addressed immediately, because, those are guys that you can kind of bring in a little bit more easier than a trade deal, which sometimes gets drawn out a little bit. So, but maybe that's what the Avs say. Hey, we have multiple ways that we can go address this. And if the free agency, if the guys that we wanted are gone and guys that are left we don't think are good, we can go the trade route if we have to. I don't necessarily love that if that's how they're doing, but I get it. But again, I do have confidence that when this is all said and done and we're at the point where we're looking at how this Avalanche roster is constructed, I do have faith that the front office will make the correct moves to once again give this team the best possible chance they have to make a deep run.
Yeah, and it goes back to even moves like he was on my list that we put out on Monday on free agents. Like Mason Appleton was 2.9 Detroit. You can't tell me the Avs couldn't have done that. They don't want to do that. I don't feel like they want to make these moves. I feel like what they're going back to, we believe in this core, and they're giving it one more shot. They're literally doubling down on what they said, and they're going to make their impact when the trade deadline comes around. Like last year, we were talking about all the moves that were made to the contenders getting better at the trade deadline when Dallas was making moves. The whole Mikko Rantanen, everybody going around and everybody getting richer because of that trade and that move. I feel like the Avalanche want to be in that position this year instead of, hey, we need another Band-Aid piece here and there, and we'll be all right. They want to make some noise at the trade deadline. If doubling down on this, if there is a piece of this core that isn't working like they thought or isn't producing like last year, they can make their move at the trade deadline. Because right now in free agency, these pieces, like even Brent Burns, he's not changing the trajectory of this team, but he's making it more stable.
Yeah, well, the trajectory stays the same. Yeah, like
Yes.
the trajectory is like
Yes.
they want to make a deep run.
And even if
how did you phrase it at the end? Because the trajectory is not, it hasn't changed, but
it's more stable. It's more, it's honestly, it's more committed to that. Because even if they went after Ehlers, if they went after like even Perbix, like none of these moves change the overall trajectory and say this move takes the Avalanche from here, like looking good for the playoffs, to cup contender instantly. None of these moves, like even Mitch Marner, Vegas is still about the same range. You're not hearing, here comes the Stanley Cup champions. Marner to Vegas is still Vegas.
So they were still going to be a big contender anyway. Yeah.
So none of these free agent moves are changing teams from good teams to cup contenders. And I feel like the Avs want to make their move as a cup contender at the trade deadline with money in their pocket to do that when everybody else is bankrupting themselves. Talking to you, Los Angeles, over players and overpaying for these free agents, thinking this is where they're going to change their direction.
And I think this is a move that they make with playoffs in mind.
Yep.
You know, you need to have big, beefy defensemen in the playoffs and not get pushed around. And that is a haul, that is a grind. And why not go get the guy that is built for that? So, yeah, I think overall, I think it's. Oh, you got it? What is it?
1 million base. Games played bonuses could get him to up to 3 million.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Okay, that's. I can't.
That's from Elliot Friedman himself.
Friedman put it up. That's fine. Totally fine. For a third pairing guy, that's you can't get angry at that.
Yeah, I think this could be low key the beginning of C-Mac returning to form. I think this is a good move on his part. I
mean, this isn't one that's gonna all the fire Chris McFarland haters like stop tweeting that, but I think this is just one of those moves that just
makes total sense.
The locker room. It does. It makes sense. Like especially like I said, where you want him to play, and just making that defense more formidable, more you know, he's going to be out there, and there's going to be guys. There's going to be guys that are not going to be taking liberties with certain Avalanche players because Brent Burns is lurking in the weeds. Like, okay, nope, let's not go after this guy. And the Avalanche haven't really had that in a long time.
Especially when Lindgren's out and he's getting paid 4 point whatever, and now you got Burns coming in, consistent fourth behind Phil Kessel when it comes to the Ironman streak, and you're only paying him $1 million, 3 tops. We're okay.
Not bad. So it is a very interesting offseason so far for the Avs. And I know it's only 2 days in, but people are like, oh, what do you want them to do? I'm like, I want them to do something. Like you traded 2 guys away, and I understand why you traded those guys away to get some cap space, and you're just kind of sitting on your hands. And that was my like gut instinct reaction was, can we do something here, guys? But then, as I'm sitting with it, I'm like, okay, like settle down. They do have a plan, not in the war room. I don't know what that plan is, but from them not doing really anything up until now with the Burns thing, you feel like, okay, are they going to address this in different ways? And let's see how this happens. Your team is not made in the first 24 hours of free agency, although a lot of people think it is. That's when the sexy signings come, but the Avs didn't do that. What are they going to do? We'll have to be patient and see.
It's crazy that 2 days into it, the most expensive signing was Parker Kelly, and they've signed like 5 players already.
Yeah, and going through after we recorded yesterday, Mangiapane signed.
Yeah.
So that was a guy that I liked, and I'm trying to go through the list here of who did sign.
Keevy and Covey are still available on my list.
Yeah, Callie Rosen signed. Not that he was on any other list, but former Av. He signed. Where did he go? Washington. Tyson Jost is staying with the Hurricanes. There's the laundry list of Los Angeles Kings who signed. Cody Glass with New Jersey. Mason Appleton went to Detroit. That was one of your top guys.
Yep.
And my top guy, Pius Suter, went to St. Louis. So it's like Perbix went to Nashville. Suter went to St. Louis. And it's like the West just keeps getting better. Not that those guys are like making but you know what I'm saying? Like the guys that I was looking at are staying in the West, staying in the Central. And Suter's a guy that, you know, you talk about money, 2 years, I think it was $4 million per. I kind of feel like, again, is that one that the Avalanche could have pulled the trigger on?
You know what scares me a little bit? Chicago's quiet.
And they have a boatload of money.
They sure do.
So I don't know. We're still in the early stages of it, but does this get things going for the Avalanche? We shall see. And it is odd that they did sign a defenseman, because that's what we're going to talk about next quickly is the Athletics power rankings of team defenses in the NHL. We'll do that next. All right. So the Athletic did centers, where the Avs were, what were they? I think fifth with that, or fourth in that. And then they did, but that was when they had Coyle. And then they did wings, which I think the Avs were fifth in. So yes, because they were top 5 in both of those. And now you have team defense. And this came out about a week or so ago. So, but does it change much? I don't think so, because they have the Avalanche at number 2. Do you want to take a guess, or did you look at this or no?
I did not.
Okay. Do you want to take a guess at who the number 1 team is
for defense?
Yeah.
Did they go Florida?
No, Edmonton.
Ugh.
Edmonton is number 1. So they have the Avs at 2. And talk about, obviously Cale Makar and Devon Taves. They do get a little bit into the, let's see, Josh Manson is a third pair caliber these days. Sam Girard would be best served with a higher quality partner. Behind them, they only have Keaton Middleton. And again, so that was it, because they had not signed Malinsky at this. So you do sign Malinsky. You sign Brent Burns. There's only one team above them. Does that move the needle at all to put the Avs at the number 1 spot? I don't think it drops them, but I think that makes a very solid defensive pairing, 1, 2, and 3. Am I thrilled with? It's weird because like we were kind of on the bandwagon of like, hey, I think it's time for Sam Girard, and maybe that could still happen. But if it doesn't, I think you know what you're getting in him. Does this make that pairing with him and Manson, and then you have that third pairing, Malinsky and Burns? It's not bad. That is a good 3 pairs for the Avs.
Yeah, and it's funny, like hearing these pairings like out loud. Like our defense is literally structured like the old NES hockey game, ice hockey, where you have your tall defenseman, your short defenseman,
the you got guy, your fat guy. Yeah,
that's kind of how it's rolling out. And I think honestly that third pairing defense with Malinsky and Burns, it's going to be one of the most intriguing third. Like it's going to reflect the fourth line, how it produced last year. I think that's going to be one I'm really going to keep my eye on. That's going to be an interesting dynamic. And honestly, just like under the heavy scrutiny, I'm really looking at that second line. Like I don't know if like par for the course is doing it anymore, but I'm looking at both Girard and Manson, and I think front offices too for these moves that we were talking about, like noise at the trade deadline. And I feel like that might be a little bit like pressured. Like, hey guys, let's see a little bit more. Like develop our game just a little bit more, because it's getting stale and stagnant. Like Manson got to give us more and more level-headed play and be in more games. And Girard, you got to give us something, whether it's more on the defensive side or find a scoring touch, but something's got to, I need one more step up, because they might be pieces going out at the deadline.
And I think an interesting thing here is if, you need to maneuver some things, like move Brent Burns up to the second pair. You know what I mean? Like he played top pairing minutes with Carolina. So like, and he's capable of doing that. It's not where I think they're going to want to start him, but we know Jared Bednar loves to mix and match on the forward end, and he'll do it on the defensive end too. So would it, I just imagine like Brent Burns and Josh Manson on the same line. I don't want to see that happen because
Sammy G and Brent Burns.
Yeah, that's David and Goliath right there. But it could happen. They could do that because if things are just not going well, if Manson's having a rough day, and we've seen him have rough days, okay, maybe you have to throttle his minutes for this game, throw him on the third pairing, and move Burns up. I don't think they have a problem doing it. If there's an injury or something, if Sam Girard has an injury, you can move Malinsky up to the second pair.
And you still have Middleton as your 7D.
Exactly. So I think this sets them up nicely. Whenever you get a signing of like a guy that's 40 years old, you always have a little bit of the okay. But for a guy who's shown that he's durable, I think it's a risk worth taking. And if for whatever reason it doesn't work out, you can address that when you need to. But I don't feel like it won't. I feel like what we're saying. We know we're getting in Sammy Girard. What you're getting in Brent Burns, and as long as he can continue to hold up, and the 40-year-old age doesn't catch up with him, you feel comfortable. You do. It's weird to feel that way about a guy who's 40 years old and still the size that he is and playing the way that he does, but he's been doing it for this long. He's built to do that. So I think it makes the defense. It's weird to say if it makes it better. It just solidifies it, like you were saying.
Yeah, I think, like, again, it doesn't change things. It's a cool thing. It's going to be a cool story. Really hot jersey to buy. But I think
there's a funny thing I just thought of. So when he went to Carolina, he couldn't be 88 because Martin Necas was there.
Oh, dear.
So now he can't be 88 on the Avalanche because Marty Necas is there. So,
or is this writing on the wall?
And he can't be 8 because he switched from 88 to 8 when he went to Carolina.
Be 44.
What's your number going to be, big boy? Huh?
Be 44, half of 88,
or just 4.
Just be 1.
I don't think anybody's 4. Could be number
1 year, 1 mil.
There you go. Perfect. Love it. 1s across the board.
Have we had a 1 since Avisher?
Yeah, Varlamov was 1.
Oh
yeah. But since Varlamov, I don't think anybody's been 1. That's perfect. 1 year, 1 mil.
I'm only doing 1 year.
That's it. So, all right, there we go. What do you think? Thoughts on Brent Burns? Throw them in the comments. Don't hate it.
No,
don't hate it. So we'll see how it goes. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for today. We'll be off Friday for 4th of July, unless something major happens. We will definitely hop on and record something. And hey, you never know. I'm not in Disney, so nothing's gonna happen. So, but if it does, we'll record something for you guys. So if not, we'll see you guys on Monday. Enjoy the holiday. Stay safe out there. Lunatics with fireworks are just they don't mix. So so we'll see everybody on Monday or earlier if something happens. So tune into that one. But for this one, thank you for making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. He's Mr. Shaggy Von Doom. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys later. Why not? Brent Burns, Sidney Crosby. Let's get the band back together. Even though they never really played together, let's have the band meet for the first time. Why not? That much closer to playing with the Colorado Avalanche. We'll see you guys later.
Are you old?
We'll sign you.